So we're going to, it's close enough now to 2 o'clock, introductory talk and guided meditation. There will be a few people coming in late. Please feel compassion for them because they missed the jokes. But the nice thing about the whole point of meditation is learning how to be calm, peaceful, light-hearted. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage telling funny stories and laughing, because it does prepare you for things like meditation. We have something which I'm sure you've heard of many times before called mindfulness. But even years and years and years ago, I realized that that's not enough to be able to describe what meditation is and how powerful it can become. So in order to make it more clear to people, that you invented a word, and that word is called kindfulness. You add the K and replace that for the M, so now it becomes kindfulness, a combination of awareness and this wonderful kindness. And because of that, the meditation can open up, get far deeper and much more peaceful. When I say to be peaceful, the reason to be peaceful is that once you have that tranquility of your body and mind, there is so many benefits for you. And to give you an introduction to those benefits, even years and years and years ago, when I was at school, at university, I realized that when it came to examinations, there were so many people, students, who had the abilities, they had the knowledge, but when it came to the big test, the exam, they got so tense, anxious, tired, they never tended to do well. And I thought that's such a great shame. And I remembered my good fortune of learning meditation when I was still a student, when I was only 18, 19 years of age. And when it came to my final exams, which was at Cambridge University, in those days everything depended on one set of exams. Everything else you've done throughout the 3 years of the English university system counted for nothing at all. And so the stress was on me. My family, my teachers, my friends always told me, this is a great opportunity you have. If you can pass those exams at a place like Cambridge, then you'll be set for life. If only I had known I was going to become a monk, I wouldn't have worried so much. But I never really worried, because I knew meditation, I knew how to do it, and it was one of the first times I realized how powerful it was. We had 6 days of examinations. This was in natural sciences, theoretical physics. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. A 3-hour paper in the morning, 3-hour in the afternoon, day after day, with just 1 hour for lunch. So, the pressure was on. But at that time, as a young man, I decided not to have any lunch. The 1 hour break in midday, I went back to my room, sat on a cushion and meditated for half an hour instead of having lunch. It was a great decision I made, because when I first sat down after the morning exam, of course I started to think, what question did I get right? What did I get wrong in the morning exam? It was so important, I kept thinking about it. And even though it's so obvious the paper is finished, it's been submitted, you can't change anything now, still I started to worry about it. But because I'd meditated before, it's like you had a training to let go of the past. So it only took me 2 or 3 minutes to let go of thinking about the morning exam. And as soon as I could let that leave my mind, the next thing which came up was the afternoon exam, starting about 20 or 30 minutes. Should I get out the books and do some more revision on astrophysics of the galaxy or something? And I'd noticed so many times that whatever I looked at half an hour or an hour before an exam never ever came up in the paper. You ask your children, does it come up? Never. And more importantly, I'd learned from meditation that what I really needed to do was not to put more stress in my mind. I needed to relax, to get some peace in my mind. And so I could let go of the future, which for me was the exam coming up soon, and come into what we call the present moment. I did that because I've trained in my meditation before to do that, and it was really important not to worry about something. I needed to prepare my mind, my brain for the afternoon exam. These days I often say that now is where your future is being made. This moment is the only time you have to do something for your future. And that wasn't just a theory or a smart catchphrase. This was real. So I could let go of worry about the future exam, so I could relax and be at peace as the best preparation for the afternoon exam. And even, honestly, giving a talk like this, I've got 4 hours apparently to teach. I won't talk all the time, I promise. And these 4 hours, sometimes, what am I going to talk about? So I just saw the program a few moments ago. That's good enough. Because the way I prepare to teach about meditation or kindfulness is to prepare my own mind to be peaceful, not to worry, not to sort of plan, but learn how to teach from experience, from example. So there, when I was years ago about to do a big exam, I let go of the past and future. The next thing I noticed did surprise me. My body was shaking. I never regarded myself as a nervous person, but this was final exams. I had a good excuse to be nervous, but I knew it wasn't going to help me at all. If you're shaking, that nervous tension before you go to a test or an examination, is that going to help you at all? So what do you do about it? First of all, you've got to notice it. It's actually happening. My mindfulness was always off in the future or the past. I could never see that before. But when I actually saw it, it's not that hard to relax your body. As soon as you see it shaking, you could relax it and let it be very, very still and peaceful. I'm always really interested about, when people's body starts to shake. These days, they call it Parkinson's disease. But then it also explained many, many things to me. One of those things which it explained to me, I was a Buddhist in Thailand for about 9 years. And all the rituals and ceremonies they did in Thailand were not quite the same as I see here in Singapore or in Malaysia. One of those ceremonies, which I'm sure you may have noticed, is when you put incense in a big bowl in the shrine. In Singapore, how do people do that? They take the incense, they shake it, and then they put it in the receptacle. Why do they shake it? I've never seen that occur in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Thailand or Burma or Laos. They just put it up and then put it in. Where did all that shaking come from? And I think you get it now, where it came from. In places like Singapore, Malaysia, you are first taken to the temple by your grandmother, mostly. And when your grandmother takes you to the temple, she shows you, this is how it's done. And she has got Parkinson's, and you do the same. You're just imitating, you're not understanding. So I'm pretty sure that that's where the tradition comes from over here. But anyway, it's also in those traditional Buddhist temples. I was just checking in here, you don't do it here. This is why I have to be very careful. In traditional Buddhist temples, you always must take your shoes off before you go into the shrine to listen to a Dhamma talk. You know why you do that? That's because if the monk says something stupid or a bad joke, you've got nothing to throw at him. So I've got to be careful here today. You're all wearing your shoes. But anyway, once I could see that I was shaking, I could relax that. Just right now, can you relax your feet? Are they comfortable? Relax. If you want to, you can. And so once I noticed I was shaking, I could relax my body, and it stopped shaking. The next thing which I saw in this very short half-an-hour meditation was how tired I was. I'd just been doing a 3-hour exam in something like quantum mechanics, which was hard work. And of course, it's like your brain is drained of all its energy. It's like you're a tea bag with all the tea drained out. Have you ever tried to make a cup of tea with a tea bag which has already been used? It's got no oomph left in it. And that was like my brain after a morning exam. I needed to recharge. And over many, many years, I've learned how to recharge my brain. What you do is just you sit down. First of all, no past, no future. In this moment, relax the body, and then you can relax your mind. It's like your mind, different than the brain, has got a certain energy which keeps coming in. And if we keep worrying and using it, then of course none of it can go in to recharge you. I've done this many times as a Buddhist monk because, I serve. Sometimes I serve way too much. It is coming off an 8-day retreat, which was a lot of talking and climbing 6 stories of stairs every day, twice at least. You're very tired. You come back here, visit someone last night who was sick, and then today start to do a meditation retreat and a talk this evening. Anybody who had a union, and unfortunately there's no monks' union, this would be against workplace safety standards. And also I'm an old monk now. Do you know how old I am? 71. No, I have to be honest with you. I am now 856. I am 856. If I told a lie in public, it's a big mistake as a monk. It's one of those rules you should never do. I am honestly 856 months old. It's much more impressive to say your age in months. So how old are each one of you? the president of the BF, Mr. Pang, how old are you now? Multiply by 12 and then you get the answer. 720. Still, that's pretty old. You should be dead by now. And all you kids here, how old are you? How old's your daughter there? 8. That's 96. If you're 96 months. So if you're 96 months old, you don't have to go to school anymore. Is that a good idea? Yeah. But anyway, so where was I going with this? Oh yeah, that when I learned how to relax my brain and recharge it, and I mention this because it was weird. Not only did I do very well in the afternoon exams, but I was told by my friends who also did that exam that I was the only student going into the exam room in the afternoon who was smiling. Has any of you ever seen people going into examination rooms with a big smile on their face? I didn't know. I didn't look in the mirror myself, but I was smiling. And the reason was because I was relaxed. And because I was relaxed, I did very well. My friends thought I was cheating. And they told me afterwards, how did you get away with that? What did you do? I did well. They thought I was somehow or other, some way of cheating. You might say it was cheating. In other words, I knew a trick which no one else knew about how to be peaceful and still and have lots of energy inside of you. So because of that, you did very well. These are sorts of things, you see the benefits of meditation. But not just being able to pass exams or go through stressful situations. One of the parts of meditation which I always love focusing on is the ability to get good health through your meditation. And that fascinates me because I've seen too many examples of people who are really sick and just healing themselves. Just one example of many. In one meditation retreat I did in Sydney many years ago, after the first day of a 9-day retreat, many people left questions for me. They weren't really questions, almost like orders. Ajahn Brahm, can you please tell those who come on your retreats to breathe quietly? And the reason was there was one gentleman in the retreat, every time they had a group meditation, he always breathed through his mouth loudly. And it was so loud and continuous that it disturbed everybody. But then when I heard about the complaint, I was the one who apologized, because I said I should have informed you at the beginning. There was one man on this retreat. He isn't a Buddhist, but he's got a big cancer, a tumor in his sinuses. And he's come on this retreat just to give meditation a chance to cure that cancer. He's not a Buddhist, but he's desperate. What I was really interested in is once a person understood why a person is doing this. He's not doing this, on purpose to annoy people. It's just all he could do. And they were so compassionate to him afterwards, so kind to him. They never had a complaint at all after that. But anyway, as for him, it's the first time he'd done any meditation, so it was very difficult for him. And after 9 days, he got nowhere. We'd already ended the retreat, and we'd already done the chanting. I'd already got my stuff, and I was actually in the car about to be driven to Sydney Airport to go back to Perth. And I saw him come running to the car. He said, Ajahn Brahm, please stop a moment. So I stopped, and he said, in the last meditation, and after it all ended, I was waiting for something else to come and pick me up. So I sat down and meditated, and I heard a popping sound. And I could breathe through my nose again. He said, only for 1 minute, and then it closed up. But for 1 minute, I could breathe through my nose. And he got really excited about that. This was not imagination. It was actually real. It's not just believing because somebody else says how powerful meditation can be. It's actually experiencing it. And I was in the car and I couldn't get out of the car to go and talk to him any further. Otherwise I'd miss my flight. So I told him, carry on, you know what to do, carry on. And then came back to Perth. 6 months later, roughly, I was in Sydney again, a different venue, giving a talk about something somewhere. And then this man came up to me and said, do you remember me? I know many of you say that to me. Please don't. I have to be honest. And so you come up to me and say, do you remember me? I said, oh, no, I don't remember you. Who are you? I said, I'm Pang, the president of the Buddhist Fellowship. Of course I remember you. But you can't remember everybody. I must admit some of the worst offenders of that are, I'm just looking around, I don't want to offend anybody, Sri Lankans. I do go to Sri Lanka and give lots of talks. And some of those talks were in big auditoriums. They came up and said, do you remember me? I saw you in BMICH, which is the big convention centre in Colombo, 8,000 or 9,000 people. I was one of those 8,000 or 9,000. Oh, come on, give me a break. So usually what I say is, you're one of those people, yeah, I remember you, but whose name I keep forgetting. Claire, I know you. So anyway, I said, no, I don't remember you. And I had good reason to, because he said he was that gentleman who had the sinus cancer. The doctors had given up on him. This was 6 months later. And it's very impossible to recognize a person who was next to death on cancer and now is in full remission. All the features start to fill out. Even just, they don't have that look of death about them. And so I said, no, I didn't remember you, but well done. You've recovered. Yes, he said, thank you. But he also said that from this day on, how many other years he has left of his life, he wants to spend them teaching the type of meditation which I had taught him. I said, well done, wonderful, thank you. So that's some of the personal examples of how meditation can do miraculous things to your body. Relax you, heal you, and do extremely wonderful things to your physical health. But again, more than that, it can give you some great spiritual insights into how to live together. Even recently I was repeating this in Kuala Lumpur in the last retreat which I gave, when there's a couple who were having a difficult time together, and then I saw them separately, and they said, well, I think it's me, I really should be a bit more firm. I blame myself for the relationship falling apart. And then I told her, and I told her partner later, that's not the correct way of looking at things. It doesn't matter what you did. And I said the story which, to make it clear, which I often tell when I'm privileged enough to do the blessing for people at Buddhist marriages. I've done many sort of Buddhist marriage blessings. And one of the things I do there is look first of all in the eyes of the bride, all dressed up, really excited, and ask her, now you are a married woman. From this moment on, you must not think of yourself. And she always smiles sweetly and agrees. Then I look at the guy and said, from now on, you must not think of yourself. And honestly, when I do this in Australia, the Australian guy always pauses. Honestly, Australian guys, that's what he does. But he agrees, yes, okay, I won't think of myself from now on. And then, still looking at the guy, I tell him, and from this moment on, you must not think of her, your wife. And you must not think of her at all. And I quickly turn to the wife, the new bride, and you must not think of him, your husband. And it's one of these wonderful moments when everybody is confused. And there's a kind of doubt, why are we inviting this crazy monk to our marriage? Doesn't he realize how important this is for us? They don't make sense of it. But there's a very important explanation. When you have a relationship, you must never think of yourself. You must never think of your partner. You must only think of us, yes. You're in it together. When you think of this as about me, your mistakes, what you need, when you think of how much I should serve somebody else, it's not a relationship anymore. A good relationship is all about us. And if there is any problem, whose problem is it? Our problem. It's amazing what you can fix up together. And those are the sorts of insights which you get when your mind becomes still and peaceful. You see other ways of looking at things. And that type of insight can be so strong and powerful. Any of you who are in business or who are in research, it's fantastic what you can discover when your mind is peaceful and still from meditation. And one of the people I'm going to suggest that you Google, look him up, was another Cambridge physicist called Brian Josephson. And Brian Josephson was one of the people who figured out what is called quantum tunneling. And he figured it out, wrote a paper about it, and it took him years and years and years for people to accept the truth of what he had discovered. And it eventually became the foundation for supercomputing. So eventually he got the Nobel Prize. And that's a big, reward for innovation. How many Singaporeans have got a Nobel Prize? 9 people. No, none. 0. Oh, how come? I'll tell you how come. you're not doing enough meditation. Because this guy, he got his breakthrough at Cambridge after meditating. It got so still. It was in the TM type of meditation. It got so still and peaceful. All those insoluble problems he'd been trying to work out, he could see the solution to them. That's what happens when you train your mind. The amount of innovation you can get is enormous. And some of that can actually transform not just the way you run your Buddhist temple or the way you run the Buddhist fellowship, but the way that you can deal with the water system in Singapore or the road system. You can innovate and see further and deeper than other people have ever seen. It's not just a case of just getting more information. It's learning how all that information fits together. So that's one of those reasons why, that things like innovation and the prosperity of people in, say, Singapore, why this meditation, it is more powerful and more beneficial than you can imagine. So there's all these incredible benefits. Side effects, 0. I've never seen any bad side effects from meditation when it's done properly, except for one. There's one bad side effect of meditation. It's not really a bad side effect, but it's a side effect which people sometimes don't expect. If you get really good at meditation, you tend to lose your hair. People like to become monks or nuns, but not everybody. But anyway, those are some of the benefits of meditation. Of course, the reason why you are here today is you have heard of some of those benefits. You want to enhance them to make them better and better and better. So this is how to meditate. I'm going to start with my visual aid. As a monk, you always have to innovate. Some of you see me do this before. Claire, I know your name and you've done this before. But first of all, are you honest? You're honest. Take your mask off so people can hear you. Are you an honest lady? Yes. Okay. The reason I know Claire is she's been on so many retreats of mine and she always sits in the same place in the front somewhere. So anyway, she's an honest lady. Now, the goal of this exercise is to hold this glass of water perfectly still. Have I achieved my goal yet? Why not? You're shaking. I'm not even paying attention. I'm not being mindful. I'll now be mindful. Has it stopped shaking yet? I'm not concentrating. I will now be mindful and concentrate. And honestly, I don't do this on purpose. When I try and concentrate, it moves more. So how can I get this water to be perfectly still? It's so easy. If you've seen this before, you know the answer. You put it down. It's moving more, but give it a few moments. And if you put things down, what we call letting go, then does that water move? Yes, it's still moving, but less and less and less. And I think you can understand in a few seconds that water would be more still than I can ever hold it. And it's an easy thing to do. So those of you who think meditation is difficult, if you don't know how to do it, yes, it is difficult. Once you know how to do it, it's the easiest thing in the world. Now that water, do you want to come up to check it, Claire?
It's still.
It's still, thank you. You're honest?
Yes.
Oh, it's taken because I was moving. So it gets very, very still when you put things down. That is how we meditate. Now if you want to know how to meditate easily, there's something which we call the Emperor's 3 questions type of meditation. It's based on a story from Leo Tolstoy, who contributed to a book of short stories to raise funds for the Jewish community this was in Imperial Russia, because they were being very badly treated. And his story, which I remember reading as a student, was about the Emperor's 3 questions. The Emperor, this was only a story, the Emperor was fed up with all the different religions in the world, always arguing on who was right, and always criticizing other religions. So he wanted to try and find his own religion, but had to be one which was simple and practical for real life. So eventually he came up with the Emperor's 3 questions religion. He thought the only thing you ever needed to know was the answer to these 3 questions, which were: when is the most important time, who is the most important person, and what is the most important thing to do. And I've said this story many times. I've even taught this story in conferences. One in particular I remember was a conference of workers at Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong. And it was liked so much, it was included in the HR training of all the service staff in Cathay Pacific. This was many years before they went bust. I had nothing to do with them going bust. So the answer to those 3 questions, it should be quite obvious, the answer to the first question. When is the most important time? And if you haven't heard this before, then you may speak. If you know the answer, be quiet. Who is the most important person? It's amazing how many people, whether they're Caucasians, Chinese, Singaporeans, they all say themselves, which is a wrong answer. The most important person in the whole world is a person right in front of you now, whoever that happens to be. Sometimes that is you, sometimes you're by yourself. Then you are the most important person. And other times it might be a little kid who wants time to spend with you. Whatever's in front of you right now is the most important person. When I first heard that, it just rang so many bells. It spun me out. Because so often you went to talk to someone who was important and they never listened to you. To them, I wasn't important. So I try to change that now. For many years, whoever you happen to see, you try and spend time with them. They are important. That gives you the relationship skills. And what's the most important thing to do? The answer was to care. Simple thing like that. Care means being aware, but also being kind with your awareness too. So anyway, to bring up the instruction to how that relates to meditation. When is the most important time when you close your eyes and meditate? now, the only time you ever have, your future happiness, prosperity, health is being made right now. The only time you have, right now. Now is the most important time. And also, what is the most important meditation object to be aware of? Hi. This is the most important nun in the world, because she's right in front of me. Now she's not. So, what is the most important meditation object to watch? Is it your breath? Is it your body? Is it, what are you supposed to do in meditation? What are you supposed to watch? Whatever's in front of your mind right now. Give it importance. It's here. If you think, I shouldn't be watching this, I should be aware of something else, you're not here. You want to be somewhere else. And that causes a great deal of stress for you. So the most important meditation in the whole universe is whatever you are aware of in this very moment. And what are you supposed to be doing? Caring. Caring for this moment, no matter what it is. That's one of the reasons I emphasize, even if you are sick, if you're on your dying bed, you're in pain, or you have a fever, you can still meditate if you know how to meditate. And the easiest thing in the world. Now is the only time you have the feelings which you have in your body or in your mind as you're on your deathbed right now. That's the most important thing in the whole world. Be aware of it. Don't try and get rid of it to get something else. And to care for it. And then you will find that it soon disappears. Just like the sound from that mobile phone which you're supposed to please turn off. Even that noise, you accept it. Thank you. Exactly. So you're kind to it. And this is actually how we meditate at any time. So anyway, that's an introduction to the meditation. And that did remind me that, as usual, going over time. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do a guided meditation for you. And I'm going to mention these points as we do a guided meditation to reinforce their meaning. So as we're doing the guided meditation, if you want to, just to stand up first of all, to stretch your legs. I'm going to stand up, not because I want to, but to encourage other people to. And you can please stretch. If you're over 65, you're allowed to go, ooh, ooh. It's a word which I learnt in northeast Thailand. Anyone over 65, the old people, they used to call them Mr. Oi and Mrs. Oi, because that's what would happen when they start stretching. And when you have stretched enough and oiled enough, you can sit down. I feel much looser this afternoon because they gave me some fish and chips for lunch today. And fish and chips has got lots of oil in it. So that's got into my joints there to lubricate. So it's not so squeaky. Okay, so I will lead this meditation for about 20-25 minutes. We're supposed to have a break at 3, but maybe about 3:05. So first of all, sitting in a chair, or some very wise people sitting on the floor. Well done. And you see, she's very wise. She's 96 months old, so way more advanced than we are. If you're sitting on a chair, that's fine too. And you can let your legs dangle over the chair if you wish, or sit cross-legged, totally up to you. And close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, first of all, bring awareness to your body. It's like it's not your body, it's like a good friend of yours, this body. And then you ask it, how are you, body? Like I would ask one of my friends, are you comfortable sitting like that? And if you need to fidget, please do so. And now to be a little bit more refined. Now to ask your feet how they feel. I usually sit cross-legged on the floor, but when I do these guided meditations, I sit on a chair. So I'm looking at the feeling of my feet. I've got bare foot, so because of that I can feel the rough carpet under my feet. And I can feel just how comfortable or how uncomfortable my feet are. And I move my feet until I get what I consider to be the maximum comfort for my feet. I express by this method my care for my feet. Now is the only time I have. In this moment, my feet are the most important things in the whole world, and I care for them. And it's amazing how you can always get them to be a little more comfortable. And then once they are comfortable, I'm aware of that feeling of comfort in my own feet. And then I move the attention up my legs to my ankles. People have injuries falling off bicycles or off ladders or just playing sports. So how are your ankles feeling now? Do you need to relax something? The good thing about mindfulness is that it gives you feedback. You're mindful now and you adjust something, move something, and you soon discover whether that feeling of comfort gets less or more. It's how you learn how to relax even a small part of your body, like your ankles. And if you do this regularly, like I obviously do, my ankles soon become so at ease. It feels, honestly, it feels delightful. I move my attention up my legs to my calves and to my knees, making sure that the calves and the knees are recognized. I don't ignore anything. And I bring a state of peace to my knees so they feel not squashed or not hidden, but allowed to be recognized. Go up through my thigh muscles. When I go to my thigh muscles again relaxing them, making sure they're at ease, until I get up to my bottom, my buttocks, and I feel those. And there's always a tension on those muscles when I'm sitting. It's the pressure of my body through those muscles onto the chair on which I'm sitting. I have to make sure that that feeling in the buttocks is as even and easy as possible. Because I know that even there's a sensation of feeling there, that feeling will disappear after a little while, simply because it doesn't move or change. And from the buttocks I go to my waist and check how my waist feels. And in this moment my waist feels uncomfortable because I'm leaning against the chair. I much prefer to straighten my back and sit up. You don't have to do that, but if you do, is that better? If it is better, great. You're developing this mindfulness and kindness or respect to your own body, finding the best position for it, but at the same time strengthening your awareness of your own body in which you spend so much time. And then I go to the bottom of my torso and I scan up my torso, inside and out. So I go first of all through the digestive tracts, the colon and the intestines. If I find any tightness, tension there, I found one of the wonderful ways of easing that tension is to go deep inside of it, go to its very center, and spread this beautiful feeling of not holding back, not squashing, not pushing away, but letting things be. It helps relieve the tightness, so healing can happen. And continue going up your body, millimeter by millimeter, inch by inch. As you go to the stomach and to the lungs and the heart and the organs in your back. And as you go through any of these parts of your body, it's like you're checking them and saying, are you okay? Anything you need? It's being kind. And you will find that you can relax aches and pains in your own body. And when you do, that part of the body feels so much more at ease and healthier. You go up to your neck, go down your arms, past your elbows and wrists, and they too, if you need to relax something, your awareness can show you how it feels, and it can be aware of how it felt after you adjusted your posture. And then you get to your hands to make sure they're all relaxed. Then back up to your neck. Some people have aches and pains in their back because their head is not properly positioned on top of the neck. So you move your head back and forth until you can find the best position for your own neck. So the head doesn't stretch or make aches and pains in the muscles that support the head. And lastly, on the front of the head, to be able to be aware of the feelings in the muscles around the nose, around the mouth, and around the eyes. If you find any tension in that part of your face, it's usually because of a negative emotion. So if you can relax those muscles around your face, you find the emotional world gets much more peaceful and content. Then the last thing, now you have watched each part of your body and adjusted it as best you can. Now join all those parts up and be aware of the body as a whole. Just your body sitting here. How does it feel? And at this moment you have this awareness of your body and relaxing it to the max. If you've done this many times, you will find that your body feels delightfully relaxed, feels good. If there's still part of your body which is tight, tense, do some more focusing on that part with kindness. And you find innovative ways of reducing that physical problem. But it must always include kindness to work. And then once the body is relaxed as best you can make it, then ask yourself the simple question, how peaceful am I? And to make it more interesting, give it a number. 10 means very agitated, 1 means very, very peaceful. If you had to give your peace a number, what number would you choose, to be honest? And now how can you relax that peace and make it come closer to 1, to being really at peace? You can experiment with things like present moment awareness, just bringing all the attention into the now. And how does it feel, learning to be at peace in this moment? If you wish, now you can start knowing some of your breathing. Are you breathing in or are you breathing out right now? And how does it feel? Don't deliberately force the breath to be long or short. Just know how it is. Is it longish, shortish? Is the in-breath longer than the out-breath? or the out-breath longer than the in-breath in your breathing. This is just a little skillful means to become more aware of your breathing. How peaceful are you? How relaxed is your body? In a few moments we'll be coming out of the meditation. What part of this meditation did you really like? What made your meditation so much more easier to understand? And what didn't? This is where the best insights come from at the end of a meditation retreat or meditation session. So I'm going to be finishing the meditation now. How do you feel? Has that had an effect on your body and on your mind? If so, what type of effect? Do you feel more at ease, more kind, more relaxed? So now please open your eyes to come out from the meditation session. So just before we have that break, which was in the program, are there any important questions any of you would like to ask about what we've said so far? You have a chance to say something. If not, then we can start the break now. Good. Okay, so let's have a break for, say, 20 minutes and come back at 3:20, and then we can do some more meditation.
Thank you, Ajahn Brahm.